Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to my round 23 recap of the NRL. So this video is a few days late. I'm still a bit sick and I haven't been into work and just not well at the moment, but I really want to make this video for you guys. So we'll start off with the first game of last round, and it was the Broncos taking on the Rabbitohs. Now this was do or die for the Broncos in the fact of making the top 8, and I think they've sealed their spot there now with a 38-18 win over the Rabbits. The Rabbits just had a lot of players injured, a lot of things going on, and I think Corey Oates was in form. It might have been his best game all season for me, and in saying that, the Rabbitohs didn't stand a chance. They had a big fight back, and then the Broncos just kept putting points onto this team. We know the Broncos are good at home. I don't know if it's because they're good or penalty Broncos, but I got to admit it wasn't a bad game to watch, especially Corey Oates being in form for this big win for the Broncos. Now the second game of the week was the Manly Sea Eagles taking on the Gold Coast Titans down there at Brookvale. I'm shocked. 22-10, I think it was at half time, Manly's way, and the final score was 42-34. If I was a coach, I'd be so disappointed in this side. I understand there's rumours of Trent Barrett leading, and I feel like the headlines, whatever you want to call that, are putting pressure on a lot of these teams. But this was appalling by Manly. For them to go so well in that first half and just slop like that, and then slop a few tries in at the end, it just wasn't good enough for them. This was a sloppy game, but it was really good play by the Titans, especially by Mr. Anthony Don. So the third game of the round saw the Melbourne Storm taking on the Parramatta Eels after the Storm lost 2 in a row. I couldn't back the Eels for this match, but this isn't a score I was expecting. It was 20-4, and the Eels, for me, they played very well when they could, but there were a lot of errors, but I feel like they were from players on debut. Not saying anything wrong about Ray Stone or Oregon Kaufusi, but that's where the errors seem to come from. But everybody makes errors in football, and I've got to say, for their debut, they played really well. Clint Gutherson's try was very controversial, but I'm glad it was given a try. I think it was the right decision after watching that replay and things. But Melbourne Storm just dominated us, and I expected this, but I expected a Melbourne by 10, 8 at the max, not 16. But anyway, pretty good game here at Amy Park. Will Chambers, though, that hit on Jared Hayne was disgusting. Now this next game was a bit of a shock for me. This was the Panthers taking on the Knights. Now the Panthers have a really good record against Newcastle. Newcastle came away with a win here, and this was actually my game of the week. They played really friggin' well. Just phenomenal from them, honestly. I didn't expect them to win this game at all, because, I mean, they're a team that should be in the 8, but it was a 20-12 win, and the Panthers did have a late comeback, but it just wasn't enough. Ponga put in a good effort. It was just a really good game to watch, this one. It was fluent. The Knights played the whole 80 minutes, and there was a very big fight at the end. I'm not saying it. I enjoy it. I'm just saying I'll say that. I enjoy it. Football is good when there is fight. I'm not encouraging it, but there are serious consequences for those players. But Viliami Kikau was the instigator for that fight. But I thought this was a really good game by the Knights. And Aiden Guerra, I think, had one of his best games of the season. He's just becoming a star forward, I think, star lock. But yeah, great game of football, this one. Now the next game was also a do or die. It was the West Tigers up against Dragons at home up against the Tigers. But all focus was on the Tigers here, where the Broncos could lose on Thursday night, which they didn't. And Tigers could make the 8 if they piled enough points here on the Dragons, but the Tigers were defeated 20 points to 10. I did call this one in my tips video last week. A lot of my friends went against me in this, thinking the Tigers would get away, but I felt like the Dragons have to strike back, and I feel like they did really well to do so. It was a long time before points were scored in this game. I think we went 23 minutes until the first try, but I didn't watch much of this game because it kind of reminded me of the Bulldogs and Roosters. Even though it turned out it had a bit of scoring in it, it just didn't do much for me. I wasn't too intrigued by it, but it looks like the Tigers may not make the 8 after this loss to the Dragons. The last game on Saturday saw Cronulla Sharks take on the Cowboys, so JT against Paul Gallen for the last time. I enjoyed this match, and I think it was close from both sides until the end. It was a bit of a 2-point gap, a 2-point gap, 4-point gap draw throughout the match. But then there were 2 tries from the Sharks towards the end. I think it was Josh Dugan, and I can't remember the other try, which led to a 12-point win. It was 28-16. But it was neck and neck throughout this game, kind of like the Tigers and the Dragons until the end when both of these teams struck back. But JT had a really good game in this game, and it's coming up to his final leg, so it's good for him to do that. Now, this game was a close one. Now, I tipped the Warriors, so I was a bit annoyed. Fusatua got a double in this match. It was 26-26, and I rang up and put $5 on New Zealand Warriors to win, as they were at quite a good price. Now, I lost this, but I want to say, finding out that Lachlan Lewis scored a try, because I was actually driving at the time of this match, so I couldn't watch the ending. I meant the middle, sorry, I saw the ending. Scored a try, kicked a winning field goal, and the fact that it's his birthday. Now, this kid's a young gun. He has got a lot of potential, and like his grandfather, great player. But I want to congratulate Lachlan Lewis on that. The Warriors played the best they could, but it just wasn't enough for that amazing field goal from 37 metres out, I believe. Now, the last game was the Raiders at home taking on the Roosters. Now, I tipped the Roosters going into this game for a win, but they didn't do enough, and the Raiders defensively stopping such a good side in the comp's attack was great to watch. I can't believe the Raiders have missed the 8. There's been so many games that they've lost in the last 10 minutes, kind of like the Eels, but they played really well, especially Jordan Rupp, and he really stepped up in this game. And he brought everything he could. So 14 points to 12, ending the week with the Raiders win, upsetting the Roosters, who would have gotten 6 wins in a row after that match. So now that's the end of the video, I'm going to give you my tips for next week, and I'm also going to give you what I think, just a quick prediction of what the margins will be. So I've got them written down in front of me because in previous videos I've stumbled a lot. So my first one, I'm just going to tell you who's going to win. I'm going to say the Tigers are going to beat Manly. Penrith are going to beat the Warriors at home. I hate to say it, but I think the Cowboys are going to beat the Eels, which puts us in a position for the spoon unless we can beat the Roosters next week, which I'll get to next week. I'm going to say the Storm will beat the Titans comfortably. The Roosters will beat the Broncos. The Sharks will beat the Knights. And the Bulldogs will beat the Dragons. So I'm going to say Tigers by 12, Panthers by 8, Cowboys by 6, Rabbits by 4 against the Raiders, Storm by 12, Roosters by 16 against the Broncos. I'm going to come out and say at ANZ they're going to fly. Sharks to beat Newcastle by 10, and the Bulldogs to beat the Dragons by 12. So I'll see you guys next week, and we'll see what I get right and what I get wrong. That's it.